Hello, this is Mike with MatterFix.io, and this is another one of our All About series of videos. In this video, we're talking about the Pro 3, what's inside it, how does it work, and what are some common problems that can happen if the camera is damaged. So first of all, the kind of comment on the structure of the camera, it's an unusual design with the mount being here and it kind of at an angle and offset like that. But when you get inside and you see it, it's actually a very efficient design to get all of those parts to fit into this one form factor and kind of work together well. So that's the camera. Now I've got a dummy camera here, and this is the one with the housing pieces removed, so we can see the various parts inside. So probably the main component is what's called the chassis. And that sits inside the camera in this orientation, just like this. And then all of the various components fit to the chassis and are connected. And that's kind of what the main structure of the camera. Now, quite often, if there's a problem with the chassis, it's because the camera has been dropped. And you can see on this one, this particular part of the chassis is bent in this way. It probably fell and got impacted there. So that's the chassis. It kind of holds everything together. And then kind of working around the camera, if we were to flip it on the other side, this is the main board that fits in there. That's the CPU for the main board and various components there. And it has a number of connectors on it. You know, there's ribbon cables and wires that kind of connect everything together to make it operate correctly. Typically, if there's a problem with the motherboard, we don't see that very often, but if there is, it again is a result of the camera being dropped and impacted and something on the motherboard it has been damaged. So working your way around the camera, this is the bottom, here's where the T-mount goes, here's what we call the battery box. This sits in there, and this is what holds the battery in place. There's connectors in there when it's plugged in, and there's a board on top that's kind of like the main power board and distributes power to the camera. Occasionally, this battery box can get damaged when the camera is dropped, or sometimes the power board that sits on top of it, it can be damaged, or the cables going in and out of it. And then working our way around, the next component here is a small board. I don't have it separate though. This is the GPS antenna, and this is primarily used to locate the camera when you're outside for 360s. And then it's also used to identify where the camera is geographically. And there are certain areas where the Matterport cameras don't have the clearances to operate, certain countries where they're not permitted to operate. And I believe that it'll read the GPS coordinates off of this, and if it's in one of those areas, then the camera will not function because it's supposed to not function in that particular geographic area. And then working our way here, kind of the probably two of the most important parts of the camera are the V drive, and that's that motor that spins the mirror. It's here, and then the LiDAR module, which is here. Now those two work together. The LiDAR module generates a pulse. This particular one is the Livox Midlight 40, I believe. And so it's generating 100,000 laser pulses per second. So the laser pulse goes out, hits the mirror, goes against a wall or another reflective surface, and then there's a return that comes back in and goes back into the camera or back into the LiDAR module, and it measures by where this is pointing and how long it takes for it to return. It knows how to create or where to create a 3D point. So you can imagine if this is creating 100,000 3D points every second, these two components are really critical that they're working correctly and working in conjunction to create accurate 3D data. So typically, like I said, if a camera falls, this chassis can get bent, and it's going to change the angle where this mirror surface is, and then that's going to throw off your 3D data, because when the camera's calibrated, it's calibrated where everything's in the correct position. If you change something, then that's obviously going to throw the 3D data off. And then the same thing with the LiDAR module. the chassis can be bent so that it's positioned in a different way. Now the problems that can happen other than dropping and changing the position is the bearing in this V-drive can go out. Typically when you're operating the camera, this should make a sound that's almost like a whisper. If it's much above that, then chances are possibly the bearing is going out or something is wrong with the V-drive, and that will need to be replaced. Some of the early batches of the Pro3 cameras had some issues with this where the bearings didn't hold up as well, but I believe most of those have been replaced now. That would have been a warranty replacement item if it happened during the first year. The LiDAR module itself, typically if it needs to be replaced, it's usually not physical damage to it that we can see, but it's taken a hard impact and something inside has gotten damaged and it's not functioning correctly. And there's an error message that will also pop up that most of the time is associated with the LiDAR module not working correctly. So then working our way around, the next component is the RGB sensor. This is a really high quality sensor. We've had to replace very few of these. Most of the time, if it does have to be replaced, it's because it's taken a really hard impact and it's damaged this lens. But even in that case, we've seen them take an impact and the lens get impacted and still not scratched because it's a really durable surface. So it needs to take a really hard impact in order to damage this and for it to need to be replaced. And then working our way down here, we have what's called the H drive. And this is the motor assembly that it's got a pocket here. The T-mount or the tripod adapter fits in here. And when it's clamped, it opens up the arm so it's locked in there. And then this motor spins and rotates the camera. There again, most of the time, if there's an issue with this, it's because the camera has been dropped. A perfect example would be if you've got it on a tripod, it's mounted to the T-mount, everything there, and you're scanning, and the tripod happens to fall over. When it's coming down, you have the T-mount and the tripod legs on it, and it can tend to torque it and put a lot of pressure on that. So that can damage the H drive. We've occasionally seen some that just started doing a clicking sound. So if you hear a clicking sound anywhere in the rotation, that's an indication of a potential problem. Now, if the camera's operating fine, not having any issues, it's fine to keep on using it. But if you start getting any unstable errors or you see the rotation isn't going correctly, then that's an indication that that unit needs to be replaced. So that's a quick rundown of what's inside the Pro3 camera and how all the components work. As I said, it's a really efficient, it's an odd design when you first see it, but it's actually a very efficient design to have all the components together working correctly in such a small form factor. We are an authorized repair center for Matterport. So if your Pro3 camera has an issue, either in warranty, if you've purchased it in the last year, and it hasn't been dropped, it should be covered under warranty. There's no cost for those repairs. Otherwise, it's an out-of-warranty repair. So we do all the repairs. We're able to do anything with the Pro3 camera. And the process is pretty simple. Pack your camera up, ship it to us. Our shipping information is on our website. You can also request that we send you a prepaid shipping label. We would just add the cost of that to your invoice. When the camera comes to us, we'll send you an email saying that we've received it. And then the next day, your camera will be repaired, and we will have emailed you an invoice that'll have the cost of the repair on it, the cost of the label if you asked us to provide a label to send it in, and then the return shipping. We buy all of our labels through ShipStation. We get really good rates. So you'll find typically, versus walking into a UPS store, our labels are about half of that cost. All of our repairs come with a 1-year warranty, so anything we fix on the camera, that is warranted for 1 full year after the repair. So if you've got any questions or anything, you can always go onto our website. On the Contact Us page, there's a Ask a Question. Email us info@matterfix.io. If there's an emergency, we have a toll-free number on our website. You can call us, and we look forward to working with you. Thanks.